I 27 male met Ella 25 female 2 years ago at a housewarming party, hosted by a mutual friend. I wasn't even supposed to go. I was exhausted from work, but my roommate convinced me last minute. I'm so glad he did. I remember seeing her across the room. She was standing near the bookshelf, flipping through a copy of The Catcher in the Rye. Not many people read at parties, let alone that. I made a joke about how Holden Caulfield would hate everyone here, and she laughed, genuinely. That was the beginning. We ended up talking for over 2 hours that night, about books, our favorite directors, how we both cried at the end of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and how we'd both love to adopt a dog someday. I walked her home. I didn't kiss her, not yet, but I knew I wanted to see her again. Our first official date was a week later. We went hiking, her idea, and we got lost for 40 minutes, but neither of us cared. We ended the day with sandwiches on a hilltop, laughing about how we survived the wilderness. That became our thing. Spontaneous walks, unplanned moments, little adventures that didn't require money or planning, just being present with each other. By the third month, I was smitten. She was thoughtful in ways I hadn't experienced before, like how she remembered my mom's birthday and helped me pick a gift, or how she once drove 40 minutes just to bring me soup when I had the flu. And she wasn't just sweet, she was smart, driven, passionate about mental health advocacy. She worked as a part-time barista while studying for her psychology degree and also helped take care of her younger brother, who has autism. We made things official after 5 months. By that point, it felt inevitable. We clicked in all the important ways. We didn't fight much, and when we did, it was usually about silly things like forgetting to text back or who left dishes in the sink. For our 1-year anniversary, I surprised her with a weekend trip to a tiny cabin in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, just books, board games, and us. She cried when she saw it, said it was the first time in a long while she felt completely at peace. I thought we were on the same page emotionally. I thought we were building something lasting, but things started to change. Slowly, quietly, a few months after that trip, and I didn't realize how far we were drifting until it almost became too late. The shift didn't happen all at once. There wasn't a single argument or dramatic moment. It was more like fog, creeping in slowly, softly, until one day I realized I couldn't see the path anymore. It started small. L began replying to my messages later and later. She used to send cute good morning texts or little check-ins throughout the day. Hope your meeting goes well today. Thus saw a dog that looked like you, tall, confused, a bit scruffy, but those slowly turned into sorry, busy, talk later, exhausted, can't call tonight. I didn't want to be the clingy boyfriend, so I gave her space. I told myself she was just overwhelmed. Midterms, night shifts, family stuff. I trusted her. I believed her. But then weekends started slipping away too. Friday night movies became I'm too tired. Sunday brunches became let's rain check. She'd come over and fall asleep almost immediately on my couch, head on my shoulder. No words, and I'd just sit there, quietly watching TV, pretending I wasn't lonely. I remember one Saturday in particular. I'd made plans for us to cook together. Homemade sushi. Something we both talked about trying. I got the ingredients, even bought her favorite sake. She messaged last minute, totally forgot I have to help Leo, her brother, with his homework. Sorry. I understood. I always understood. But after it happened 3 weekends in a row, I started wondering, was it really her schedule, or just me? Eventually, I tried to bring it up, gently. We were walking in the park. I said, "Hey, are we okay? Like, really okay?" She gave me a tight smile and said, "Of course, just stressed. I'm sorry if I've been distant." Then she reached for my hand, and for a second I felt reassured, but something in her eyes didn't match her words. It was like she was tired of trying, or tired of me. I started noticing little things. When I talked about my day, she'd nod but not really respond. Her laugh became rarer. Her phone stayed glued to her hand, and sometimes I'd see her swiping through Instagram while I was mid-sentence. And then came the nights when she just didn't respond at all. I'd send a good night text and wake up to a sorry. Crashed early 10 hours later. The timestamps didn't lie though. She was online until to a .m. My friends began asking, "Are you two still solid?" I'd nod. I didn't want to admit how unsure I was. One night, I called her. Just a regular call, not an emergency. She answered on the third try, sounding annoyed. "What's wrong?" I hesitated. "Nothing's wrong. I miss you," she sighed. "I'm sorry. I just really needed a night to myself." I felt like a burden. That night I lay awake, thinking, when did I become someone she needed space from instead of someone she found comfort in? And then I started to pull back, too, not out of resentment, but maybe out of self-protection. I'd delay replying to her texts. I'd stop bringing up plans. I wanted to see if she'd notice, if she'd ask, but she didn't. We were two people, orbiting each other, close enough to see, too far to touch. Still calling it a relationship, but it felt more like a memory we were both pretending wasn't fading. When Lena finally agreed to talk in person, I felt a rush of relief. It had been weeks of silence, of awkward phone calls that ended before I even said hello. I wasn't sure what to expect when she texted, "Meet at our cafe corner." Saturday at noon. It felt like the calm before a storm. On Saturday morning, I woke up early. I paced around my apartment, rehearsing in my head how to start. Should I say "How have you been?" or "What's wrong?" In the end, I just wanted clarity and honest conversation, even if it hurt. When I walked into the cafe, she was already there. She looked tired, pale-faced, and anxious, swiping at her phone like she was expecting something. I sat down. The waitress brought our coffees, and there was a long silence. I tried to break it. "Hey, thanks for coming." She nodded, gaze fixed on the cup. Then she spoke, quietly, "I needed you to know. I think we've been holding on to something that's gone extinct." The words were carefully chosen, but delivered like a gut punch. Holding on to something extinct. I realized she meant us. Our connection. I asked her what changed. She sighed. "I don't feel seen anymore. I don't know who you are to me anymore." She talked about emotional distance, the small rejections that stack up until you can't breathe under their weight. Canceled dinners, ignored texts, unreturned calls. I felt stung, but tried to stay composed. "I thought I was giving space. I thought you needed that." She looked at me, tired. It wasn't needing space, it was moving on. "And I didn't tell you, because I didn't know how not to hurt you." Tears welled up, but I held them back. "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" She looked down. "I thought someday we'd fix it. That I'd find the right time. There isn't one." The cafe had grown noisy. People chatting, the steamer hissing, coffee machines pumping. It felt chaotic around us, but eerily quiet between the two of us. I asked her if she ever felt love again. She paused. "I felt safe with you once, but safe isn't love. Sometimes safe feels like a cage." She took a sip, swallowed hard. I realized I needed light, dreams, other people. Every word felt deliberate, careful, precise, like she rehearsed them over and over before writing them. I swallowed. "I loved you. I still love you, I guess." Her voice shook. "I know, but love should make you feel alive, not trapped by nostalgia." I asked about us, if there was a way back. She looked straight at me. "We can remember the good parts, but we can't rebuild on foundations that cracked under silence." I reached for her hand, a gesture of comfort. She pulled away gently. "It's not closure. It's clarity." She looked so small, suddenly a butterfly that lost its wings. The waitress came over and cleared our cups. We both smiled politely. It felt like a final curtain call. There was gratitude for the time we had, but also relief, for the truth laid bare. Before I left, I said. Thank you. For being honest, even when it hurt. She nodded. I hoped love would grow. But sometimes, letting go is the kindest way to love. Walking away, I felt hollow and strangely liberated. I realized that the confrontation, this painful talk, was the clearest truth we could share. Sometimes relationships collapse slowly, quietly, until nothing remains but that one heavy conversation. In the weeks that followed, the silence between us became permanent. There were no more texts, no half-hearted calls, no "Are you okay?" messages. And strangely, that quiet didn't echo like loneliness, it felt like the start of something new. Not for us, but for me. I began reclaiming spaces that used to belong to us, the park bench near the lake where we used to sit. I brought a book and sat there alone, not to reminisce, but to rewrite the playlist she made for me. I replaced it with songs that made me feel free, powerful, alive. I wasn't erasing her, I was rediscovering me. It wasn't linear. Some mornings I woke up with that familiar ache in my chest, the kind that comes from remembering someone who is still alive, just not in your life anymore. But I let the pain visit, like an old guest who no longer overstays. I didn't push it away, I just didn't let it stay. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted from. We talked late into the night about stupid things, deep things, and everything in between. I realized how much of myself had pressed into the mold of that past relationship, trying to be what someone else needed instead of who I really was. Therapy helped, too. I learned that healing isn't always about understanding the other person, it's about understanding your own patterns, your own boundaries, your own worth, and forgiveness. It came slowly, not just forgiving her for drifting away, but forgiving myself for not noticing the distance sooner. Eventually, the dream stopped being about her. I stopped checking my phone, hoping for her name to flash on the screen. I stopped wondering if she ever missed me. Because I wasn't building a life for someone to return to, I was building one for myself to stay in. And one day, as I walked past the same cafe where we had that final conversation, I didn't flinch. I didn't feel bitterness or regret. Just a quiet respect for the people we were, and gratitude that we were brave enough to let go when love had turned into memory. Funny how life keeps moving, even when your heart feels like it's paused. Looking back now, I don't hate her. I don't even feel angry. If anything, I'm thankful. Because that chapter, with all its highs and heartbreaks, taught me who I really am when the noise fades. When the we becomes just me, I've learned that love ain't always meant to last forever. Sometimes, it shows up to teach us something, to show us our blind spots, to break us open, so we can rebuild with stronger hands. I no longer romanticize what we had. I see it clearly now. It was real, yes, but it had an expiration date, one we both ignored until it spoiled. These days, I smile more. I listen to my gut more. I surround myself with people who choose me without hesitation. And slowly, I've started choosing myself, too. Closure didn't come from a final text or apology. It came the moment I stopped waiting for one. So here's to grown, to hurting, to healing. To letting go of what almost was, and making space for what might still be. Sometimes the ending isn't the heartbreak. It's the beginning.